Good morning, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Good morning to everyone in the chat. First of all, there's lots to get through this morning. There's absolutely a ton of stuff that I want to talk about this morning. One of them is James Forrest. One of them is the Green Brigade, and then obviously we'll talk about Martin O'Neill and the game as well as the big summer clear out at Celtic. Yes, there'll be a massive clear out of players, and I'm going to talk you through every single player that I think will leave the club in the summer. And some of you might not be happy about one of the players that I think will not be here after the summer. So make sure that you watch the whole video. Right, we're going to start off with the Green Brigade. We'll start off with that first so I can get it out the way. The Green Brigade put out a statement last night, one of many statements that's been put out over the last couple of months. The Celtic versus Motherwell fixture on the 14th of March is set to be the 30th match and over an 18-week suspension of 250 Celtic fans. This is fundamentally unfair. Collective punishment practice follows no process. The fans were refused participation in the investigation. They were given no right to reply. They had no means to appeal decisions. There had been limited communication with them throughout, and the rationale of the suspension has regularly shifted. 3 weeks ago, on the 12th of February 2026, the Green Brigade met with Celtic to try and find a resolution. The only update since then is another meeting scheduled for Monday, the 9th of March. I've said it before on this channel that the board are just pushing, buying time. They are completely taking the piss out of not just the Green Brigade, but everyone. Every single Celtic fan. They are just moving things so that they can get to the end of the season, and then once they've got your money for your season tickets, they won't give a shit. Well, they're hopeful that the progress has been made, and we remain sceptical, especially as the club are unwilling to share details of any outstanding concerns in advance of the meeting, which is just typical Celtic. And it goes on to say the timeline of events. The 18th, 20th and 28th of August 2025, the Green Brigade sent 3 emails to Celtic FC documenting concerns with the security operation, warning of potential flashpoints. These emails were ignored and the security operation remained unchanged. On the 29th of October 2025, Celtic versus Falkirk, an incident occurred in the standing section concourse between fans, stewards and police. The Green Brigade raised a concern with the fans liaison officer post-match regarding the conduct of stewards and police. On the 7th of November 2025, Celtic Football Club announced a 6-match suspension of 250 fans affiliated with the Green Brigade. Celtic Football Club alleged violent assaults of a steward and police. The Green Brigade refuted these allegations and narrative presented by the club. On the 18th of November, the Green Brigade requested the fan representation at a SAG meeting regarding the issue. This was refused. Celtic Football Club threatened to extend the suspension across the standing section. That means fans that are in the top half of the standing section that are nothing to do with the Green Brigade were on the verge of being banned. Closing down the standing section is what the club wanted to do. On the 20th of November 2025, 5 Celtic fans were arrested and subject to dawn raids of their family homes. 4 fans were charged with a breach of the peace. 1 was charged with assault with no injury. The 5 have since had police-imposed bans from Celtic Park revoked by the court as they deem no risk to attend Celtic Park. So there's no football banning order in place, yet Celtic have still banned 250 fans. On the 21st of November 2025, 2 members of the Green Brigade challenged Mark Hargreaves at the Celtic AGM on his role in the fan suspension and subsequent arrests. Celtic Football Club alleged that he was subject to threats and intimidation. The Green Brigade refuted these allegations and the narrative presented once again. On the 2nd of December 2025, Celtic Football Club extended the ban indefinitely, citing the Falkirk incident, attendance at matches, social media posts, and threats and intimidation to staff. On the 17th of December 2025, Celtic Football Club insisted they will not engage with the Green Brigade while it refutes the allegation. On the 5th of February 2026, Brian Wilson, chair, invited the Green Brigade to a meeting. On the 12th of February 2026, the meeting between the Green Brigade, Celtic Football Club, Brian Wilson, the chairman, George Campbell, head of legal compliance. On the 9th of March, the meeting between the Green Brigade and Celtic, there was another meeting, and there is no outcome of that as yet because it happens on Monday. It seems that the board are very content in just throwing this down the line, and it's like, in other words, fuck you. That's where we stand with the Green Brigade things. I think that I will move on from that. I'm sure everyone will have their own opinions in the comment section in the video. Right, let's move on from that and talk about James Forrest. I will talk about Martin O'Neill first of all, because as it comes into this game, Martin O'Neill over the years, even his first time at Celtic, he wasn't adverse to changing goalkeepers. Now, we've brought in Sinisalo. Everyone says, look, just keep Sinisalo in the team. He's a fantastic young goalkeeper. He wants to be the number one next season. His aim is to be the number one next season. And he's playing like a number one goalkeeper for Celtic. The fact that Martin O'Neill will have the final decision, he did say yesterday in the press conference that he will speak to the goalkeeping coach, Stevie Woods, as he rates him highly. Can you remember when a manager came into Celtic and said, I don't rate you, even though Stevie Woods has been at Celtic for longer than most players, the majority of players, in fact, apart from maybe James Forrest, who we're going to talk about in a minute. But Stevie Woods has been at Celtic that long, and every single goalkeeper that has came through the doors at Celtic says that Stevie Woods is one of, if not the best goalkeeping coach in football in the UK. But anyway, will he have the final decision, or will Martin O'Neill make the decision for Sinisalo to stay in goals at the weekend? Now, talking about people that want to be number one, there is only one number one player at Celtic. And that is the player that is in his 17th season for Celtic. He's only had 550 appearances, but he has won 26 trophies, making him the most decorated player ever at Celtic Park. Yes, it is James Forrest. James Forrest made it clear yesterday in his interviews with the media. He spoke about three things, really. He spoke about his loyalty to Celtic over the years. Many fans have said that James Forrest is done. There's many fans said James Forrest should never play for Celtic again. James Forrest says, hold my pint, and he comes on and scores another goal in another season. And it keeps on going on. The love affair with Celtic is far too well known for everyone that has anything to do with Celtic Football Club. He spoke about being in the final stages of his career and obviously the game this weekend. But there's one thing for sure, and he made it clear, that he doesn't want to play for another football club. He wants to finish his career at Celtic. He wants to stay at Celtic for as long as possible. He does admit, though, that will ultimately be the club's call. I've said it before, I think that James Forrest should be offered a coaching role at Celtic, the same way as John Kennedy was offered a coaching role at Celtic, the same way as Darren O'Dea, who left the club, came back, coaching role. McManus is currently first team coach at Celtic. I think that James Forrest, it is only right that when James Forrest decides, or when the club decides that, look, will the club give him another year? There is talk that he might get a year extension on his current deal. He's a fantastic player to be bringing on. He can still turn games, and this squad, let's face it, he still is one of the better wingers in this squad, and that just shows you how bad the squad is. But taking away how bad the current squad is, James Forrest is a rarity in football. He's not only a living legend in our time, not only has he won more medals than anyone else that's ever played for Celtic, beating the great Bobby Lennox, which is some doing in itself. He feels physically good for his age at 34. He enjoys fighting for his place. He enjoys new wingers coming into the club. He enjoys that and it motivates him. He wants to make an impact when he plays. He still feels that he can make an impact when he can come on. And he doesn't want to fade away. If he plays, he wants to help the team. He wants to contribute in other ways if he doesn't play. Despite being out of contract at the end of the season, he is still completely focused on Celtic winning the league and the Scottish Cup. His goal is to help Celtic win something and worry about the future later. He repeatedly says that contract talks will happen at the end of the season, not now, through his interviews. And, you know, he admits he wants to stay in football after retire because football's all that he's ever known. He loves watching the game. He enjoys being around the players and the dressing room. Could there be a future role for James Forrest in youth development at Celtic? I hope so. Coaching in some form, backroom staff. James Forrest would even do what Lisbon Lion ended up doing. Yep, washing the shirts and being the kit man at Celtic. James Forrest would do that just to stay at Celtic. People need to lay off James Forrest. He is an absolute legend of a player. His relationship with Martin O'Neill, he says, Martin O'Neill gives attacking players the freedom. He doesn't overstructure the role like previous managers at Celtic. He encourages wingers to express themselves. You know, for a natural winger like James Forrest, these type of coaches are what you want. Not coaches like Wilfred Nancy and Brendan Rodgers who want you to play that position and try and take all the enthusiasm out your attacking play. Going on about the club in the game this weekend, you know, he talks about the intensity of the fixture. He says there was a lot of guys that went to Ibrox and it was their first time that they'd played at Ibrox. The game this weekend will be their last time that they will play because I'm going to tell you a lot of these players will not be at Celtic in the summer. He says it'll be great to get us to another semi-final, and his favourite memory is scoring when Celtic won the league at Celtic Park against Rangers. Combined with winning the league, combined with winning a derby game, he said that was probably one of his best. Tell me what you think about James Forrest. The big takeaway for me is his loyalty to Celtic, you know, his professional attitude over his whole career. James Forrest used to get the pure and utter piss taken at him by Bruni. And Bruni used to say to him, why don't you have social media? And if you're a young kid today, look at the likes of James Forrest. If you're a parent of a young player that has a dream of playing football, look at what James Forrest has done over his years. Just get your head down and get on with it. And ditch social media. It's probably one of the best pieces of advice that James Forrest would give everyone because it's given James Forrest longevity. You know, it's given him longevity at Celtic Football Club. His desire to finish strong this season, his love for the club, and the rivalry against the club that we're playing this weekend, he's not finished yet, is he? And I think that, you know, whatever happens after this season, I hope Celtic do give him one more season because we do need these. A lot of players, a lot of people, and a lot of fans. I get it. A lot of fans will say, "Don't know, he's done. He's over the hill. He's 34." But you need people like James Forrest at a football club, and especially going into the rebuild that we're going to go into next summer, which takes us absolutely flawlessly into the next segment of the video. And that's the big clear out. There will be a massive clear out of Celtic Football Club this summer. James Forrest will not be partaking in the clear out. A couple of players that will be. We obviously know Dyson Maeda will be one of them. Rio Hatate will be another. We'll start with the forwards first of all. Out of the numerous forwards that we have an abundance of forward players at Celtic now, where we've struggled over the last couple of years. Although Jota's out injured, we've brought in Junior Adamu, who just seems to be misfiring. Mikael Ange Balakwisha was brought in for £5 million in the last summer. Big Tam the Czech, he's scored more blanks than somebody that's had the snap. Yang, well, he's another one that just comes and goes. Kelechi Iheanacho was brought in the summer also, along with Callum Osmond. Kelechi Iheanacho, unfortunately, has been injured most of the season. Whilst Callum Osmond didn't get the opportunity that he maybe wanted, he knew that he was coming in as a younger player and had to bide his time. When he got his turn, he managed to start getting banging in goals. Unfortunately for him, he got a bad injury. Sebastian Terekti, another player that's been brought into Celtic, who's done fantastically well this season. Joe Mavuka, brought in by Martin O'Neill in the last transfer window. Daizen Maeda and James Forrest are all classed as forwards at Celtic. I reckon that the majority of them will not be at Celtic next season. We'll start at James Forrest. I think James Forrest will be at Celtic next season, because he'll be given an extra year, maybe 2-year contract. I would say a year at most, just to be around the first team and help the first team, and to come on as a sub late on. And it'll be there to show the new breed of Celtic players, the next set of players that are coming in the summer, what it means to play for Celtic. Daizen Maeda will leave Celtic in the summer, guaranteed. There's already talks going underway, seemingly, for Daizen to move in the summer. Joe Mavuka will not be given a contract by Celtic, even though we have the option to buy him. Terekti, that's the big one. I think that Terekti will be at Celtic, because Celtic will want to build around Terekti next season, along with Callum Osmond up front. Kelechi Iheanacho, not a chance. Yang, that's an interesting one, because Yang's had an interesting season. He was sold for $3 million, went down to Birmingham. They pulled the plug on that in the last minute because they couldn't get the deal over the line because of contract talks with we know who. I think Yang will be away also. Tam the Czech, he will not get a contract at Celtic. I just don't think that he's good enough, to be perfectly honest. Mikael Ange Balakwisha, Celtic will take the hit on him and they will sell him in the summer for a loss again. Junior Adamu, he will not be given a contract by Celtic. I don't think so. And Jota will be the last one standing. So that leaves us 3 forwards. 3 forwards out of all them that will remain. Jota, Terekti, James Forrest. It means that and Callum Osmond, 4 players out of all them that will remain at Celtic in the summer. That's a rebuild of the front department once again. James Forrest isn't going to play 30, 40 games a season, is he? I mean, Callum Osmond, yes, he's a bright young thing coming through the system, but do we put pressure on him? And then you've got the added issue of Johnny Kenny. He will come back in the summer. Will he be given another opportunity? Yes, I think he will. When you look at the players that are out on loan, there's 8 players out on loan, and the majority of them will leave the summer. At least 6 of the ones that are out on loan on the Celtic club website will leave the club. Hateo Inamura will leave the club. He will be sold after his loan spell. Odom Ohm, he's still classed as on loan as Los Angeles, even though he's training with Celtic, but his career is finished. Will Celtic quietly pay off the rest of his contract? He's never going to play for Celtic again, so that's the second one. Rocky has the option to buy with his contract with Hanover. Will they take that up? He will definitely be sold in the summer regardless. That is the third one. Lewis Palmer, he's already made it known that he doesn't want to come back to Celtic. Celtic don't want him back. Stephen Welsh will make the full-time move to either Motherwell or Aberdeen. And then you've got Shin Yamada, who's the last one. He's playing in 2nd division in Germany at Brigade Münster. He'll go. And the other one that was classed as on loan is Adam Montgomery, who's came back from Livingston because he's injured. And then Johnny Kenny. I think he will be brought back and allowed to try and progress as a striker. Whether he makes it or not is up to Johnny Kenny and the next manager. That's the front players. When you look at the midfield, the midfield will also need a rebuild in the summer, because there will be at least 3 players, a minimum, will leave the current midfield. There are only 7 players listed in the midfield for Celtic: Benji Negrin, Luke McCowan, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Arnie Engels, Paulo Bernardo, Rio Hatate and Callum McGregor. Callum McGregor goes into his final year next year as a Celtic player on his contract, I believe, if I'm correct. Arnie Engels, we know that offer came in, Celtic rejected it. Arnie Engels will be sold in the summer, as well as Rio Hatate, who will be in the last year of his contract. Paulo Bernardo's an interesting one. I think that Paulo Bernardo may ask for a move in the summer. If a bid comes in for him, I think that Celtic would take that offer up. Which leaves Benji Negrin, Luke McCowan, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Callum McGregor. Oxlade-Chamberlain has to have a conversation with Celtic in the summer to whether they take on the option of the added year. I think Celtic will, just to keep the numbers in the midfield. It still means that we'll need at least a minimum of 3 players brought in. If Paulo Bernardo is sold also, we'll need 3 midfielders in the summer. Jeez, honestly. And then we get to the defenders. Never even talking about Kasper Schmeichel leaving Celtic. When you look at the defenders that we do have: Alistair Johnson, Liam Scales, Austin Trusty, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Julian Araujo, Marcelo Saracchi, Benjamin Arthur, Dane Murray, Colby Donovan, Tony Ralston and Kieran Tierney. The Julian Araujo will not be at Celtic next season, unfortunately. The 10 million price tag for Julian Araujo will price him away out the window. Celtic will see the fact that they have Alistair Johnston back, and they also have Colby Donovan in that position. The big one for me is the fact that Benjamin Arthur will go back to his club, but will leave us with Dane Murray, who's come on to a good game. But will Tony Ralston, who's coming in towards the end of his Celtic contract also, will he decide that it's time to go and play football elsewhere, or will he want to just hang around Celtic Football Club like James Forrest has done over the years, knowing that he's not guaranteed football, but for his love of the club, will he stay at Celtic, or will he go down the same road as Stephen Welsh and leave the club in the summer? Colby Donovan is one that's coming through the system. He's came through the system now. He's not coming through, is he? He's pretty much first team player and looks up to Kieran Tierney as his mentor. Kieran's obviously will go into the second of a 5-year contract and coming onto a game. It'll be interesting to see if he gets any game time this weekend. But when it comes to the central defenders, we only have Liam Scales, Austin Trusty, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Dane Murray. Whilst Dane Murray can make the step up, and long term Dane Murray can become a fantastic player as he matures over the next couple of years, Cameron Carter-Vickers hasn't seen a full season out for Celtic since he joined, with that 6 million price tag from Spurs. Austin Trusty is another player that was brought in to take over from Liam Scales. And Liam Scales himself will know that there will be players that will be brought in the summer to take their positions. Because I think if you go into another season with just those 4 as defenders, it's not progress. It's just maintaining the status quo. Marcelo Saracchi's agent has said that Celtic are in negotiations to buy him for about 1.5 million. That is the price market that Celtic are in. When it comes to Julian Araujo, he will not be at the club. Alistair Johnson will be back. So there's only really going to be 2 of those players that will definitely leave the player out of all the defenders. And that will be Julian Araujo and Benjamin Arthur, that I suggest. My prediction is that they will not be at the club next summer. Benjamin Arthur, due to the fact that he's only on loan, and Julian Araujo, we won't be able to afford them. It's as simple as that. The 10 million that will be dangled in front of Celtic as his club want to recoup the money, that even if it was to go down to around about 7-8 million, I can't see Celtics paying that kind of money for backup for Alistair Johnston. But there you go. And then it gets to the goalkeeper situation. Kasper Schmeichel's out of contract, which means Sinisalo will be number 1. Ross Dohan would be number 2. Or will the next Celtic manager in the summer want to go out and bring in a goalkeeper with more experience. The way that we did with Joe Hart, the way that we did with Kasper Schmeichel. Even though Sinisalo is a fantastic goalkeeper, for me, he should be number one goalkeeper next season because I see him as the next holy goalie. We need stability between the sticks. We need someone that's going to be between the sticks for the next 2 or 3 years so that the back line and we can build from the back going forward. Because that's what Celtic are going to have to do next year. They've got the stability of the core of the back line of the team will still be there. It's going to be the midfield and the forward positions that the complete rebuild at Celtic will take place in the summer. Jesus, what a thought. The next manager is going to have it all to do. But anyway, Benji Negrin, will he be sold in the summer? Celtic could accept an offer for him if, like what always happens at Celtic, you have one good season and then you're sold on. Celtic bought him for 1.5 million. He has scored 19 goals this season. It puts him up in the £15 million bracket, minimum. If we were to lose him within that midfield as well, if you lose him, Arne Engels, Rio Hitati, Paulo Bernardo, it would leave us with Callum McGregor, Luke McCowan, and Oxlade-Chamberlain in the midfield. We'd need to go in and bring in 4 midfield players to just keep the squad at a similar quantity. Can we go out and bring in 4 really good midfield players? You just know what Celtic are going to do. They're going to sell Arne Engels for around about 15 million. They'll end up selling Benji Negrin for around about 15 million. It's maybe a good time to sell Benji Negrin. It would be a massive profit. I don't know how much the money would go to his previous club, but I tell you one thing, whoever's at the helm in the summer is going to have to turn around a squad quick still for the European campaign. A European campaign that we might only get into if we win the Scottish Cup, which takes us on to the next bit. Quite getting good at this, aren't I? Takes us on to the game this weekend. Martin O'Neill's obviously made, will have decisions to make today, tomorrow morning. Well, he'll make the decisions today about the goalkeeper. I don't think that he'll wait until tomorrow. I think we've spoken enough about the game tomorrow. Let's jump into the comment section and see what everyone's saying in the comment section since we've been managed to talk non-stop for half an hour. Imagine that. Baz, I thought Tenecti had a pish game on Wednesday, chasing shadows. Yep. We already know there's a lot of players out there we could be left with nothing. Yep. So no time at our amazing club, and for us older fans, we've been through the fear before with not winning things, and the younger fans have never known anything but good times. But we will remain faithful. Big Tam is due to score a hat-trick. Jim's on the drink this morning. I don't think that Big Tam the Czech has got a hat-trick in him. I'll be honest. I don't think that I don't think he's got a hat-trick in him. Does he even have a goal in him right now? Anyway, we need another experienced keeper, but as a number 2 to Sinisalo, not as number 1. That's an interesting one, but surely Ross Dohan he's 27 years old. He came through the system at Celtic. He went away and played games elsewhere. He was number 1 at Aberdeen. Surely that's the player with experience at Celtic. Shouldn't Celtic be looking to the one goalkeeper that I thought Celtic would promote? We let him go in the summer, which was bizarre. Araujo must replace Johnson, surely. That would mean selling Alistair Johnston. You're not selling Alistair Johnston this summer because he's not been fit for the majority of the season. You're not going to get players. You're not going to get somebody come unless he has a fantastic World Cup. It was the same. He had a fantastic World Cup with Canada when we bought him, and as soon as it became apparent that Celtic were after this guy Alistair Johnston from Canada, every Celtic fan started watching the Canadian games in the World Cup. So I think Araujo will see his level at a higher level than Celtic. You got to remember that he was a Barcelona player, and he will feel that he can get back up to that top, and he can. You know, his level was far. He's a player that would be great to buy at Celtic. He's a player that maybe one day may go for 20, 30, 40 million if he gets the right move. And he will see his next move is to a bigger club. I think for more money. I think he'll be out Celtic's price bracket personally. Celtic win tomorrow, and the backlash from the Rangers fans will be hard for the rule of honour to handle. 30 million of loanees. Yeah, and Deadwood. Sinisalo made a brilliant save. Yeah, he did that. Yep, Stephen, just give me 2 seconds. I'll just put that link in there for you. Oops, no, it's not. Sorry about that. It's helps if I put the whole thing in. And it's not giving you the. So if I put the HTTP in. There you go, there's the link. I'd like to keep Benji Negrin and get a better player around him. There is an article this morning that's suggesting that Benji Negrin could be sold in the summer, but it's from a website that says that we're selling everybody, and it's a website that suggests that we're buying everybody. So I would take it with a pinch of salt. Pinch of salt. David, I know it's all about just trying, isn't it? It's all about waffling. It's all about waffling. I'm going to jump through the comments. Yeah, not much more comments. I think this is Araujo's level, to be honest. He's 25. He's not a young boy. Yeah, but he got a 10 million move, and don't know. He's. I mean, is Celtic his level? I still think that Celtic will not be able to afford them. Simple as that. Whoever the new manager is, they'll need a massive rebuild. It could take a season or two. Scott, Ange Postecoglou wasn't allowed 2 seasons to do a rebuild. Don't know. I think that if Celtic, I know this, it's hard for us to say, but I think that the best thing that could happen to Celtic this year for the long term, and I don't want to say this because I want to do the 5 in a row again. I want to try and get to the 9. Would probably be for Celtic to lose the league, because it's only once we do that that the Celtic board get the kick up the arse that they need. And let's be fair, whilst the current incumbents of the Celtic board, the Celtic fans want them out, I think that the Celtic board are getting away with murder just now. They are getting away with murder. They'll say that they're running the business to the best of their capability. A lot of Celtic, a lot of Celtic fans say otherwise. I've got a feeling that Casper will play. What players would you like to see at Celtic? The players that I'd like to see at Celtic, Celtic would never be able to buy them. Never. It's all about reality now. There's a big dollop of, never mind jelly or ice cream. There's a big reality check getting dolloped on top of your cone. It's not going to be a 99er. That's for sure. But anyway, right. That's me done and dusted for this morning. Thank you to everyone who has joined in this morning. If you're watching this on the replay as it is, I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy your day wherever you are. And I might be back on later this afternoon. I might not. If not, I'll see you tomorrow morning because it's a massive day tomorrow. There's a lot of 7,900 fans nearly head to Ibrox for an early kick-off. Well, it's not really an early kick-off, but Martin O'Neill says they should be getting breakfast. They've been in there that long.